The iLLANOiZE app is available now on Apple and Google Play Store. Download the app, get the latest news, stream our podcasts, watch interviews, and listen to iLLANOiZE Radio live. Download the app right now. You know what we like to do at this time. We bring you guys some of the illest guests from around the city and globe. And today we got Johari Noelle in the building. Yeah! How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling really good.
Adjust that floor, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you stopping by, man. I mean, how was your travel? Matter of fact, where did you travel from?
Well, I'm from the south side of Chicago, so not far. I came from South Shore, so it wasn't far. No.
Okay, east side. All right. I see you. I actually want to ask you, what is your ethnicity?
I'm African American.
Okay. Because I was looking, pronouncing your name like Johari. It sounds African.
So my father, when me and my sister were first, when we were born, he was practicing a different religion. He was practicing the Muslim religion, so he wanted us to have Muslim names. So me and my twin sister, our names are Arabic and Swahili. So Johari is Arabic and Swahili for, I believe it's called Jewel, and my sister's is Jamila, which is Arabic for beautiful. So we're Christian now, but at the time he was like, they must have Muslim names, so that's how those names came.
Wow. Hold on, you say twin sister, so identical?
Yeah, identical. Mm-hmm.
She ain't got no mole over here, nothing.
She has the same mole actually on the same side of the cheek. Yeah.
So y'all get mistaken for each other all the time?
No, honestly, we work really hard to not look alike. Like our hair is two different colors. Like her hair is red. I wear my hair blonde or whatever color I feel like wearing it. And she's 3 inches shorter than me. So if you see us in person, you're like, okay.
Okay.
We look alike. Don't get me wrong, but there's slight differences.
Okay, not to sound like a creep, because I kind of knew you had a twin sister, but it's just because I've been following you for a long time. Okay, so audience, don't think I'm creepy. So what is it like? Because your sister dances, right? Mm-hmm. So what is it like being a set of twins that are creatives? Because I feel like that's almost common with twins, is that they always seem to be creative. I know another set of twins and one dances and the other sings.
That's
so I just
really
think that's
funny.
Really cool.
I don't know how that happens. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but the interesting part is that she actually started out singing when we were kids. So, when we would have family talent shows, she would voluntarily sing. And I would be, scared out of my life to sing. I would just, write poetry or whatever. And our parents started us really early, with getting involved. We did theater. We were in cheerleading in school, dance. So it was really, they wanted us to figure out what we wanted and what we were drawn to the most. And for me, it was music. For her, it was dance. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of became a thing as we got older, yeah, I'm going to be the dancer. You're going to be the singer. And da-da-da-da-da. And it just became this thing that we agreed, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do it together, but we're going to do our own thing. So, I'm really proud of her. She's getting back into dance. She did it a lot over the past couple years, and then she took a break. But I'm so happy to see her dancing again, because I love seeing her dance.
Can I ask you how young you guys were at that time? When things started for you? Her dancing and you singing?
Really early, in high school.
Okay.
So do you remember what pushed you into going into music?
Really, when I was in high school, it was a lot of I made a lot of friends who were also artists and friends who were dancers. And so because we became so drawn to that, and because that became our environment really quickly and really early, it was I love doing this. I'm into this. I was just drawn to the process, whether it was choir or recording or writing for people or whatever it was, I just loved the experience, and it always kept me excited. So I knew that feeling I didn't really get anywhere else, and so I was just yeah, I like this.
Okay. I like how you talk about the feeling. I feel like that's something that's a lost art almost when it comes to just how music and art is being presented now. People don't really talk about the feeling. So I know it's probably hard, but how would you describe that feeling that you actually get?
With singing?
Yeah, or with whatever
Singing, writing,
feeling, whatever feeling that you get.
It's crazy because with each of those things that you mentioned, singing, writing, performing, it's all kind of different. If I'm just singing a song, it's second nature, so it just feels it feels like a calming thing because it's like, I just love doing it. Like, something could come on in the store, in the car, and I just find myself singing it, even though I wouldn't know that I know the words. It's just like, oh, I know the words. Or, like, if I'm writing a song, that's more of, like, an adventurous thing because I'm trying to place myself into a concept or an idea. Or if I'm inspired by something, I lock in completely. So that's more of, like, it's a fun but more serious side of music because you want to make sure that whatever you're talking about makes sense and that also that people want to listen to it because you could be super deep and no one would care. But like it's about mixing like what you have to say and what you want to say with something that's enjoyable for people. And so that's more concentrated and that's more of a concentrated emotion. Now with performing, it took me a long time to get here, but I love performing. I was always really shy and introverted, so it took me getting used to like feedback from a crowd and like seeing them enjoy it, and that exchange of energy became really fun for me over time. But in the beginning I was very like uncomfortable. I would be like, what was the performance for you that you would say kind of changed all that? That you just didn't. I mean, like, because I know naturally performers, you get some nerves, whether they're good or bad.
Butterflies in that
stomach. You know what's interesting is that I saw this thing that says if you don't get nervous, it means you're not passionate anymore. And so, like, I'm still grateful that I get nervous or I get excited. I say excited. I don't say nervous. I get excited before performances, and I love that because it's like, okay, I still really care about this. Like, no matter what stresses I have or whatever, I really care about this. And the first show that I did where I got really comfortable was 2016 or 2017. I was auditioning for Allfest, and it was like a bunch of other artists in the room, and they just had me get on stage, and I was just like, and I had a puppy, so I put her on the stage with me, and I just started singing and dancing, and I'm like, well, I'm really comfortable up here. Like, I don't feel the weird feelings I felt before. Like, it was growth for sure, but I was just like, wow. Like, I'm up here. I definitely give her credit. I definitely give her credit because I'm like, she's just up here chilling in her little, and everyone's like so into her. So I'm just like, oh, the attention's not really on me, but it's on me.
It was on the puppy.
The hype man.
She was my hype girl.
Now, I've learned that you didn't start taking music serious until college.
Yeah.
Why? Why it's, with you being in high school and doing music and then going to college, like, what was it that made you finally take things serious?
Well, I started in my senior year of high school going into college.
Okay.
So it wasn't like right in college. It was like my senior year going into college. Like I said, I had a lot of friends who were artists and rappers and singers, and so when they would have sessions, they would invite me, and I would sing background or like write stuff here and there. But I never really did it for myself. Like, it was always like other people's music, which I enjoyed, but I just never explored that side of it.
Okay.
So when I got to college, I was very like, oh my God, I'm in a new space. Let me share my gift. And I was really eager to sing. So I would do like all these open mics and showcases. And then I made friends in college who were like, you should start recording your own music. And I was just like, you're right, maybe I should. So I started like posting covers, and then I started recording and started getting familiar with recording, and it just kind of started from there.
If you didn't receive that feedback from your friends, do you think you will be in this position now?
I think I still would be in this position. Like, I still wanted to do it. It was just that, when you're going into college, it's a lot of encouragement of like school, education, and I'm 100% about that, but it wasn't like, oh no, you should just go be a star, go be a singer, and go do your thing, dream big. Like, it wasn't really like that when I was growing up. Like, my parents were really supportive, but it just wasn't like at the forefront. It was like, you have this opportunity to go to school. Mm-hmm. So I didn't feel like it was impossible. I just wasn't like warped into like, this is my life and this is it, like I am now, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Before we get into your single much, I want to know, what college did you go to and what did you study?
I went to NIU, which is in DeKalb, and I studied corporate communications, but my emphasis was public relations. So it was a lot of like public speaking.
So how was that transitioning, going from like, playing the background and then coming to the front?
it was different because I was used to being in the background. I was used to like being there, but not really being like having the focus on me, like I mentioned earlier. So it was an adjustment to say, oh wait, this is about me. Oh crap, like it took a lot of getting used to, but I'm happy that I made that choice and that transition for sure.
Hey, me too. I mean, break down too much, because the video is in depth. What I mean by that is like I could tell you're painting a picture within that image. So break down Too Much for the audience.
So my single Too Much was really a song that I wrote. The story behind the song is that there's a lot of things that we battle inside of ourselves, and sometimes our own enemy is ourselves. But in this instance, it was about being picked on or being messed with by other people. Like, I had a job that I was working full-time a few months ago, and my boss was a jerk. Like, she was really mean, and she wasn't, like, that much older than me. We were, like, a year apart. So her behavior just felt like she was just a hater. And so it became a thing where it was, like, too much. Like, we got into an altercation, and I was going to quit. I was going to put my hands on her. It was going to get bad. But I did not. I kept my composure, and I was just like...
I can't see you being that man.
No, she really...
I was about to say, you take a person that far.
If you take a person far enough, you can get something you didn't want. So it was just that situation where it was just like, wow, you really about to make me jump out of my spirit, and I just can't. So I was so angry.
Person crazy. You about to make me jump out my spirit. I ain't never heard nobody say that. You about to make me jump out my spirit, bro.
No, for real. Like, so I was just like, okay, forget it. And I was recording a lot at that time, so I just left work because I was working from 4 a.m. to noon. So as soon as I got off...
Oh, baby.
Yeah, so it's like, you're testing me and it's 6 a.m.? Like, you really want something.
You don't want no smoke, sis.
Yeah, like, you have a goal here, and I just don't get it. So I was really frustrated by that whole situation, and I just turned it into a song addressing that confrontation.
So you didn't have to put hands on anybody, did you?
Exactly. No,
put the vocals to use.
Yeah, I hit her with a song. So
this is diss track.
Hey, it is. And we finna get into Too Much right here, right now. iLLANOiZE, powered by Logic Radio. We'll be right back at it. Make sure to check out the iLList playlist, in which we provide you with the latest tracks we play live on our show. Head over to Spotify and search iLLANOiZE Radio to follow our playlist, as well as follow our podcast. Now let's get back to the show.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Pretty Riot, and you just tuned back into iLLANOiZE Radio. I don't care if you're listening to us from our app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I was about to say Apple Music again. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Tidal, wherever we are, that you are. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Hit that little bell there so you get notified every single time we post a video. But we're going to hop back into our interview with Miss Johari Noelle. How you feeling, girl?
I'm feeling good.
Great. So, before the break, we talked about, like, college and stuff like that and how you got into music. So, I've been kind of following you for some time now because I'm a little weirdo. But, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing my weird guys. But, like, I kind of wanted to just talk about, like, I remember you were kind of doing Chasing Destiny. So, like, what was that experience like for you, and, like, how has it changed just, like, how you are now as an artist?
The experience is really cool. I'm really grateful to have...
Can I ask how, not to cut you off, can I ask how that even came about?
Sure. Let's talk about that. So basically, I was in college. It was my freshman or sophomore year, and I was posting a lot of covers, like, on Instagram and YouTube, and it just kind of, like, caught the attention of certain people, and they reached out to me, mentioning that Kelly Rowland was working on a project where she was putting together a girl group. And I was like, oh, of course, like, I'm definitely interested. Send me the information. But for the longest, I thought it was a scam. Like, I didn't think it was legit. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Just send me the application and I'll do it. Like, everything was super air coded to me. So I did the application and ended up meeting casting directors, because it then got picked up from being just a project she was doing solo to being a television show that she was documenting. So next thing you know, I got invited to audition in Atlanta in front of Kelly Rowland and Frank Gatson. And so when I got to Atlanta, it was me and my father. I remember we got there at like 9 a.m. It was a super small room with 600 girls, from all over Texas, Florida, Atlanta, Chicago, Louisiana, like girls from everywhere with immense talent. And I remember seeing Kelly and I was just like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty and she's so perfect. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm only 19. Like, I am just like freaking out. So it was so many girls that they rushed the audition to be 30 seconds and 3 girls per audition. So like after like 3 hours, I get in and it's me and 2 other girls. And Kelly's like, hey, so say your name and sing whatever song you're going to sing. And yeah, we'll let you know. And so the first girl went, the second girl went, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm last. So then I went and she was like, I like you. You should come back. You should stay. You should stick around, she said. And I was just like, stick around. So I was like, super happy. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll stay. I ended up staying until like 9 p.m. And by the end of the night, it was only 40 of us left out of 600 girls. So they cut a lot of girls, and it was crazy because they were all so talented. And I remember her saying, if you don't get a phone call from me, you're not coming. But if you get a phone call from me, you're coming to LA and working. So be ready to work. And I was just like, yeah, okay. So literally 2 days before Christmas, 2 weeks later, I get a FaceTime call from an LA number, and it's Kelly. And I'm freaking out. I'm like holding my phone and screenshotting and smiling at the same time. And she's like, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up? And she was like, I'm sure you know this call means you're coming to LA. And I was like, I guess it does. And she was like, well, I hope you're ready to be a team player, ready to work hard, and ready to learn. And I was just like, I 100% am ready for all of it. Like, let's get it going. So next thing you know, I'm in LA, and we're out there for a month and a half. We're shooting, rehearsing from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. It was crazy long hours, lots of hard work. But I got to work with some amazing people and meet some amazing people and create friendships with those people. And it just taught me so much about the industry and really how hard artists work and how much goes into the behind the scenes, like rehearsing. I love rehearsals now because of that experience. So definitely grateful for it. And like I said, Kelly is amazing. So,
and you know, you make your way back to Chicago after the show, and you do an interview with Chicago Tribune. And I got a quote from that interview, because you said I spent the last 2 years really focusing in on performing to get comfortable being in front of crowds again, and just really staying in the studio writing and just like really getting my feet wet all over again. With the process, it was kind of like starting over. So, you know, after being on camera, several cameras, being filmed, performing for for a big name artist with people in the background that's big behind her, you came back and you felt like you needed to start over. Why?
Well, what a lot of people don't tell you about these opportunities with being on shows is that you are starting over, because there's a lot of contractual agreements and things. So like when I did the show, I had a contract where I couldn't release for another year or two. So for 2 years. And so I had to wait to put out music. So I really spent that time off the show redeveloping, getting familiar with things, because it was a break. So I couldn't really like engage all of the fans that I gained from being on that show. I couldn't really give them anything. You know what I mean? So it was like I was starting over.
Why? I was just going to say, do you like that? Like, hindered you in any way?
I think it all, I mean, I definitely feel away, but I'm still grateful for it. Like, I feel like it was a bit of a waste of time, but I do feel like everything happens for a reason. Like, if I didn't take that time in that space, I probably would have different music, and I would probably have a different story, a different message, and it would probably all be different. So I think it all happened exactly the way it's supposed to.
During that period, what was the thing that motivated you the most, and when you was like going through that, like
through the break?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that motivated me was that I'm not tied down. Like I have my own thing. Like I have my own rules, my own flow. Like I don't have to go by anybody else's rules. Like I wasn't signed to a label or anything like that. Like I just had the freedom of like just really developing, and I really got to take that time to get familiar with like what I want to say and how I want to say it and who my audience is. I spent the last 2 years writing these songs and performing them for audiences to feel out how they feel about the music before I put it out. So just kind of being able to experiment in that way, as well as collaborating with other artists in Chicago, like all of that time really like was good to me.
Yeah. It helped open you up a whole lot more.
And just getting more comfortable. I think another thing is that people assume, like, if you're on TV, whether you are the person on TV or you see someone that's been on TV, it's easy to assume, like, everyone knows who you are. And it's like, no one knows you. Like, you know what I mean? When you come back to your hometown, you need to make sure you have a solid grounding here. And for me, that was really important to make sure I'm truly out here building relationships with people and working. And you know what I mean?
You know, during that process of pretty much being on a break, did that motivate the title for your EP, to, you know, things you can't say out loud?
I think the job I had at the time inspired that, as well as that time, because I felt like there were so many different emotions and things that I was dealing with that I didn't feel comfortable talking about. So I was just like, these songs all have this common theme, whether it's like with my personal relationships or my friendships or my insecurities or experiences in work. Like, these were all things I just didn't feel comfortable talking about or putting on Front Street for public. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was just like, well, these all are like really personal things. So the title really came that easily.
I like how you did the short version of it, TYCSOL. What's that? TYCSOL?
Essentially like TYCSOL. And I think that it's funny because the music itself is like got a lot of hints of like R&B and soul, which is ironic. But also, I didn't want people to have to like research on streaming platform things you can't like. Do I have to uppercase, lowercase? Like, I wanted it to be very easy to find, and I think that made it very easy to find.
Me too. I was, you know, I'm just searching your name. There's no one in the industry with your name, which I'm
grateful for, man. Yes, and that's my legal name. A lot of people got to make up names. There's no shade. It's just like I didn't have to do that. My legal name was just
it's already dope.
Was good enough for me to be like, okay, let's throw that out there and see.
You know, that it just hit me, like, with you having your real name as your stage name, do that boost is that, you know, does that bring a different type of music in the mix? Because, you know, now your real name is stamped onto this song, this recording, so does that, you know, impact your music in a...
That's a great question. I think as you asked that question, I thought about the privilege of having a separate name from your real name, because if you think about it, like, it's easy to then, with performing, tap into whoever that person is. Like, for instance, like, if I had a separate name from Johari Noelle, like, that's, you know, that's my real name, but if my artist name was something different, I'd probably have something else to tap into. But I'm just Johari, you know, there and here, and I have to really kind of, like, push myself, and I think that's interesting. It's just a whole like thing I just had.
But I think that brings like a real level of authenticity, because I think when it comes to artists that do, you know, like have an alter ego or they have a different stage name, it's hard to get lost in that. But when you're always being yourself, like it translates very well in the music. So
like, my name is Biko, that's my last name, but I still use it, you know, it's my name at the end of the day, and I cater to myself the best way I can possible, you know. That's actually talk more about TYCSOL. You know, it's 5 tracks on there.
Yep.
Why specifically 5 tracks?
Well, I honestly felt like anything more than 5 would have felt more like an album. And because it's my first piece of music going out into the world, I wanted it to say enough without saying too much, you know what I mean, for them to enjoy but not be tired of and not skip through. So like, it's enough music to where you can listen to it and chill, but so you don't get, you know what I mean, it's not too quick, but it's not
too long,
too stretched out.
Yeah, I mean, I like the ideas of EPs in general, and then you coming off Chasing Destiny, that was perfect. It was perfect for the EP, because now you can reattract those same fans again and just get them a tease and expect more of what's to come.
Their reception to it, I'm very grateful for, because they're like, oh my God, she's made music. And so they're like super into it and sharing it and stuff. And so I'm, like I said, I'm very grateful for that. Like, if I hadn't have done that, who knows? You know what I mean? I wouldn't have had the insight that I have now. So I don't really regret too much anything.
What song strikes you the most off of this EP that, well, I'm not going to say strikes you, but what song do you feel would strike your audience the most off of this EP?
Probably Crazy Lonely.
Crazy Lonely?
Crazy Lonely, because it's a 2-part song, and the first half starts off really like airy and sweet, and it's like a vibe, but then the other half is like, there's a lot of dynamic vocal stuff happening and a lot of changes production wise, so then it's like, it's easy to get lost in it, but in a good way. So I like the journey of that song and like the way it moves.
Is that a subliminal title, Crazy Lonely? You saying you crazy and you're a little lonely? Is that some type of subliminal?
No, so the message behind the song Crazy Lonely, I actually wrote the first half of Crazy, really talks about just being that crazy person in a relationship where, like, if you're sitting with your partner and they're on the phone and you're looking over like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Who is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to be, you know what I mean? It's easy to be like, what are you, what is that? Yeah. It's really easy to be like that.
We'll get to that one.
And I feel like I really wanted to kind of paint that story. And then the second half, which is Lonely, really kind of talks more about long-distance relationships. And people don't really talk about how hard that is.
It's difficult.
Okay, amen.
Because you really have to trust, and you gotta hope that your partner's not doing something stupid or crazy just because they're lonely. So you know what I mean? So you're hoping like, okay, don't go entertain this guy or this girl just because I can't physically be there with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you're respecting me as much as I'm respecting you.
See,
Which is also kind of crazy. So the two kind of still, they align really well, which is why that's my favorite song.
and that's why I said it in that way, because I wanted you to break that record down a lot. I know it was a meaning truly behind this record, so I just wanted you to break it down more. Let people know where they can get your project, your EP. Also let them know to stream that thing on Audio Mac, because what, it's closing in on what, 100K?
Yes, it's almost at 100,000, which is amazing. And on Audio Mac, which is really dope because there's so much music on Audio Mac. But yes, you guys can stream my project anywhere. It's on all platforms. My name is Johari Noelle. If you guys want to follow me on any social media, I don't have Snapchat though, so sorry, I just don't.
Is there anything we need to be on the lookout for as far as videos,
Yes,
shows?
I'm getting ready to release the video for Show Me, which was a song off the project. It's one of my favorite songs as well. And I'm also looking to release more music in a project in April. And I also just wrapped up a small collaboration that I did with SoundCloud, which is really cool, and that'll be releasing soon too.
Okay.
Look at you.
Any shows?
No shows right now. I'm taking a break on shows just to finish recording this project because I really want to give people more music in these next couple months. So
You trying to make up for that year?
yeah, I'm trying to make up for that time.
Go crazy.